Hi and welcome. This is our Cubs program with Cate York from the Cubs Citizens Utility Board, a nonprofit organization that works with the utilities in the state of Illinois. So she's going to give us some information about the utilities, how we can save money, spot errors, join some programs that we wouldn't even know existed except for Cubs. So Cate, thank you very much for joining us today. And I'm going to let you take over and share your screen and inform us.
Great. Thanks so much, Paula. It's really exciting to be here. And Jean, if you have any questions, please feel free to just unmute and ask throughout the presentation. So as Paula said, I'm going to go through kind of all the couple of just basics about ways to save on your bills, and then take whatever questions are out there. So let's get this started. Just share my screen here. Okay. All right. So my name is Cate. My name is Cate York. I work for Citizens Utility Board. So what is CUB? So we are, as Paul said, we're an organization that is based in Illinois. We're all based kind of relatively around Chicago. I personally am based in Urbana, but our outreach team kind of goes all over the state. So we'll talk to anyone. But we're an organization that was actually started in the 80s by the Illinois General Assembly, by the state government, in order to advocate on behalf of utility customers. But even though we have that really important mission, we're actually not a state organization. We don't receive state funding. We receive our funding through grants and member donations, but we have that mission to uphold, that we want to make sure that utility customers aren't overpaying on their bills. So I have here on this slide a bunch of different colleagues of mine. On the left, we have our general counsel, Julie. She fights utility rate hikes before the Illinois Commerce Commission. Occasionally in the courts, we go before the courts when there are issues pertaining to utility customers in the state. My colleague Ani is one of our consumer rights counselors. She operates our consumer advocacy phone line, and that's a toll-free number you can call 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. We are happy to take calls. If it is a complaint about a company, we ask that you reach out to the company first. And that's part of the Illinois Commerce Commission's regulations as well, just to see if they can help resolve the issue. But if you're getting any pushback from your utility company or an alternative supplier, and we're going to talk about those companies in a moment, we're happy to talk to you. I am also happy to talk to you if you have any questions about some of the programs we're going to talk about tonight. We do free utility bill consultations. People want to call and ask us to do that. We're happy to do it. Happy to organize events. If people have groups of people who want to, like tonight, groups that we want to talk to, we're happy to do that. Talk about ways to save on your utility bills. Talk about solar, energy efficiency, cable, all kinds of stuff. And my colleague Feluke is in the top right. She is a fellow member of our outreach team. So we do work a lot of events. Before the pandemic, in person, we would drive around the state, but now, of course, we're doing a lot of virtual events in various communities. And then at the bottom there, in the bottom right, that's a picture in front of the Capitol in Springfield during one of our lobby days. So that is something else that we do, is we advocate for better consumer protections at the state level when it comes to legislation. So all these things we do basically to work on behalf of utility customers. We focus on state regulated utilities. So for our purposes tonight, I'm going to be talking about ComEd and NICOR, but we also deal with issues with Illinois American Water or Aqua Illinois Water, and we can occasionally help out with municipal utilities too. It's just we don't really have a lot of jurisdiction. And we also can talk to people about their cable bills, although there's not as much we can do about that because cable and phone bills are deregulated at the state level. So we just try to give people some tips as to how to save. This is my email address. I have a slide here because, as I said, If anyone wants to send me their utility bills, happy to do a free consultation. It's not no strings or anything. We're a nonprofit organization. Our goal is just to help make sure people are saving and identify any issues on your bills. So this is our website. We have a lot of free materials there, all just kind of fact sheets. And these are some of my favorite guides. We have a gas and electric guide we put together last year, or 2 years ago now, time flies, which goes over all of the rights that Illinois gas and electric customers have and the rights they don't have, what the limitations of the law is when it comes to issues like disconnections, issues like, if you need your meter checked by your utility company, that kind of thing. I will say because of the pandemic, there are some different protections in place at the moment, but a lot of those are expiring. The utilities have resumed disconnections, or excuse me, we've gone into a second. The utility did resume connections disconnections a couple months ago, but now we've actually entered into a second moratorium on disconnection. So that means that utilities will not disconnect accounts from now until, or a few weeks ago, until March 31st. That does not mean that anyone's outstanding balance goes away. If you can pay your bill, do pay your bill, because your bill balance will continue to add up. And we're going to see in April a lot of people with large balances and really needing to get assistance. So also, if anyone needs any help, identifying financial assistance, paying your utility bills, I'm happy to talk to people about that as well. Another guide we have here is just a guide to saving at home, some tips and tricks to just save here and there. I'm not going to talk as much about some of these tips. Like there are things like, get an advanced power strip and, wash your water on cold, that kind of thing. There's so many of them. I'm not really going to go into those tonight, but if you're interested in those kinds of tips, happy to send that guide along to you. And then of course we have a guide to cutting your TV costs. So those are all some good guides and popular guides that people like to get copies of. So in talking about utility issues, I like to think of the Serenity Prayer. So for anyone familiar with AA, it's to accept the things you cannot change, the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I mean no disrespect to this prayer, but I also think that it does actually apply when it comes to our utility bills, because there are things that we can change, there are things we cannot change, and it's a good idea to try to change the things you can. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what the difference is. So here is an example of a ComEd bill. There are many things on a ComEd bill that you cannot change as an individual. Now, a lot of those are just those charges that come down to what rates your utility is charging you. Those are the kinds of things that you can't just call up ComEd and say, I really don't think I want to pay the energy efficiency programs fee. So can you just take that off my bill? You can't negotiate that kind of thing. These are all charges that are regulated at the state level. Whenever ComEd wants to change what it's charging you, it has to go before the Illinois Commerce Commission, and the commission actually has to approve that it is okay for ComEd to charge you that fee. Same for NICOR. There are a lot of different fees on your NICOR bill that you are not in control of. As an individual, you can't change anything about it. But there are people in control of that at the Commerce Commission. And the Commerce Commission actually follows rules that are created in state legislation. And who's in charge of state legislation? Your local legislators. So I hope you're not feeling too powerless because we will be getting into the ray of sunshine in just a moment. But who does have power over some of those charges? I always like to kind of go through who's really in control of your utility company. So your utility company decides what they're going to charge you, but the person telling them what they're going to charge for is the Illinois General Assembly, or people, that is, your state representative and your state senator. Those two bodies have a lot of power over your utility company. A lot of them also get funding from your utility company. So that's always a fun thing too, to look up what your local legislators made from your utility company over the years and see if that might have influenced some of their decisions. There's also the Illinois Commerce Commission. They oversee the utility company. Like I said, they have to approve all of the different types of charges that the utility wants to charge you. The governor appoints Illinois Commerce Commission commissioners. There are 5 commissioners that the governor appoints. And another body that's in charge of your utility company is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Now, this is a very important federal body. There have been some recent decisions, actually, that are going to increase ComEd bills quite significantly as a result of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission's decisions. And who controls who sits on that commission? The president. So who is in charge of all of these different politicians, right? Voters. So indirectly, everyone actually does have a little bit of a part to play in this process because we can exercise our rights to vote. So if you are concerned about what your utility company is doing, maybe one of these legislators has had something to do with those decisions. And so it's always a good idea, if that's something that's a concern to you, happy to talk more about ways to get involved at the legislative level. But just always, just a good plug for people to get involved and just, do their civic duty and vote. We just had an election, and that's always exciting to see. So what are the things you can change? That's what we really want to talk about tonight. What can you do tomorrow to start saving on your bills? So the main thing you'll notice here in green are all the things that you can change, and it's mostly your usage. Your usage actually has a lot to do with what you're being charged on your bill. No surprise there. There are some fixed fees, of course. Your customer charge for ComEd, as you can see, I think I have it blocked here, but I think it's, $11.30. So you're going to be charged $11.30 no matter what. But all these other charges, you really do have some leverage over. The less you use, the less you'll pay. And the same goes for NICOR. You'll notice your usage is really what you can control. Now, on both your ComEd and NICOR bills, another highlighted field I have here is your supply rate. So what does that mean? Well, first off, I just want everyone to feel very confident that we do have control over our bills to some extent. So what's your rate? So I don't know if anyone has received these notices in the mail saying things like, you may be eligible to receive a gift card, act now, like time's running out, limited supply. These are all marketing gimmicks to try to get you to change your electric or gas supplier. So the way that it works in Illinois is you are sitting at home, you get this is all for electric, but the same applies to gas. You get your gas and electric from your utility company. Your utility company owns these lines. They own the electric lines, they own the gas lines. They are not going to change. You are always going to get service from them. They have a monopoly. That's why they're regulated at the state level. So for ComEd and NICOR, they will always be your utility. So we do, however, have the option of choosing a different company to provide the supply. Now, the reason for that is it didn't used to be the case. Utilities in Illinois used to own supply and delivery, but they're a monopoly. And so they were charging whatever they wanted for supply. There was no incentive for the utility to keep rates low when it came to the cost of actually producing electricity and storing and transporting gas. So a decision was made to make it illegal for one company to own both. Now, there are companies on top of the companies that are the utility companies that do own both. So in that case, that's Exelon is the parent company of ComEd, and Southern Company is the parent company of NICOR Gas. That doesn't matter really so much, except for the fact that there are these other companies called alternative suppliers that can sell individually to residents a supply deal. So that means that instead of being on the default ComEd supply or default NICOR supply, you have a different company that is in charge of your supply. Again, you will continue to pay, and I can just go back here, you will continue to pay almost all of these fees from your regulated utility company. The thing that's going to change is your supply rate. So that shouldn't be a problem, right? Hypothetically, you should be able to get a good deal. However, I can tell you from doing this at Cub and looking at hundreds of bills, I almost never see a good deal on an alternative supplier at this point. And the reason for that is that ComEd and NICOR actually can't, if you get on the default utility rate, they're not even in charge of that rate. It's actually a regulated process, at least when it comes to ComEd, that is. It's a regulated process overseen by the Illinois Power Agency. So it's a state agency that's actually in control of what the default ComEd rate is. And ComEd is not making a profit off of what they charge you for supply. They make their profit off what they charge you for delivery, right? And that's guaranteed. They will always make that profit. But what changes is if you get an alternative supplier in there, they don't have that extra delivery money, right? Because they don't have you guaranteed as a monopoly. They're just, they're just an alternate company coming in. So they have every incentive to overcharge you. And so when we see, sorry, I keep going back. When we see ads like this, get a free gift card. It's a way of getting people to sign up for these deals thinking, I'm going to get a gift card. Great. Everyone wants money up front. And then over time, you're going to overpay and they're going to make that money back essentially because a lot of people overpay. For electricity alone, the Illinois Commerce Commission has published in a report every year. They publish losses to alternative suppliers, and Illinois consumers since 2015 have lost over $1 billion to alternative suppliers in the last 5 years. Isn't that crazy? So it's a really good idea to make sure that you check your supplier, make sure that you're not overpaying. So this is an example of one of these alternative suppliers, Clean Choice. I actually saw this bill when I talked to somebody in person a number of years ago. You can see it was 2018. Clean Choice was charging them 13 cents. And at the time, ComEd was charging 7.29 cents. So that is a lot of difference. And the profit that Clean Choice is making just off this bill alone was $17.46. So this customer actually was applying for an energy assistance grant. So it was really not somebody who could be affording to overpay by almost $20 a month. So I really think it's important to note this. And if anyone has questions about it, I'm happy to talk to them. So ComEd's price to compare. It's the ComEd rate again that ComEd is not in control of, but is the regulated rate for electricity is 7.067 cents. And as part of that regulated process, it changes in June and October of every year. So there's a flat rate that you pay if you're on the ComEd supply. We're going to talk about there's another option for people instead of the flat rate if you want to be on the ComEd supply, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. So this is where your supply section is on your bill. You can check to see if you have ComEd as your supplier or an alternative supplier. If you have an alternative supplier, probably a good idea to cancel depending on what they're charging you. NICOR has a rate of 29 cents per therm, and that changes actually every month because gas is stored, and so it doesn't have that same process regulated by the Illinois Power Agency. So it changes every month according to usage, according to demand. And this is where the NICOR rate is located on your bill, the supply section. Good idea to check to see what you're paying. So the second thing I like to talk about is how much you use, and that was one of the big things that could determine how much you're paying on your bill. So the utilities actually are required to offer energy efficiency programs. It's programs that help you save energy, programs that allow you to use your appliances and use your electronics in your house, and not really have much disruption in the way that you use them, but you use energy in a smarter way so that you're just using less. So, for example, an LED light bulb uses I believe 10% of the energy that an incandescent bulb uses. So that means that you can run that light bulb, for the same amount of time and save quite a bit of money. So you don't actually see disruption in your life. You just end up saving on your bill. And ComEd actually offers through this program that is funded on your bill. Actually, by the way, they're allowed to charge for this program, but energy efficiency actually saves quite a lot more than we pay for it. They will come out to your home and install free thermostats, free advanced power strips, free everything with, on this page. They do offer smart thermostats, that's also there, but you do have to pay a slight amount. Oh, and you actually also have to pay a slight amount for the power strip, but everything else is free, and the amount you pay is quite a discounted rate. So the goal is basically to get everyone to use less energy, lowers costs for everyone. We don't have to build as much transmission. We don't have to worry as much about securing generation. And it makes your home more comfortable. If you air seal and insulate your home, you get rid of drafts, makes your home cooler in the summer, makes your home warmer in the winter, and you save quite a bit of energy. So these are great investments to make. People often don't consider them because it's not right in front of our faces a lot of the time. We're not thinking about energy efficiency, but they're really, really important decisions to make to saving at home and being more comfortable at home. And this is just a chart of generally how people use energy. And you can see heating and cooling are quite a lot. Water heating is quite a lot as well. So, it's a good idea to make sure that all your appliances are up to date and you're not wasting unnecessary energy. And these are some numbers, and I'm happy to send these as well for numbers to call. Due to COVID, of course, everyone's exercising extra precautions, but these programs are still in effect. It's just, they even have kit options where they'll just send you a kit. You can get free materials, or if you'd like for somebody to come into your home, of course, they'd be wearing PPE and everything. So you wouldn't have to worry about that if you felt comfortable with it. So the third element is when you actually use electricity. So we're going to go back to what I was just talking about with your supply rate for ComEd. There's the option to either go on the flat rate, which is just the same rate, doesn't change no matter when you're using electricity. But the flat rate is actually the average of prices. Electricity isn't just the same price. The actual cost of electricity varies, from minute to minute, because we don't store electricity. It has to be produced. Enough electricity has to be produced at any one time in order for me to turn on my light, right? So because of that, we have to make sure that we always have enough electricity. And in the summer, when everyone's using a ton of electricity, right, to run their air conditioners, and no one's really thinking about, well, now it's probably a peak time of usage, so maybe I won't run my air conditioner. No, we turn our air conditioners on because we feel hot, right? But unfortunately, that puts a tremendous strain on the grid, and we have to turn on what's called peaker plants. These are natural gas-fired power plants whose only existence, their only reason for being, is just these few select hours in the summer on really hot days. It's the only reason they exist. Super expensive. It accounts for about 25% of our electricity bills year round. It's just to pay for these plants, which are only in effect for a couple of days during the summer. So it's not a great system, right? So there have been some programs that have been developed over the years to try to get us as consumers to change our behavior to help us use electricity strategically. So one program is called ComEd's hourly pricing program. So as I said, the actual price of electricity changes according to demand. And so it changes every hour of the day. If you sign up for hourly pricing, you will pay the real-time rate of electricity instead of that flat rate. So instead of paying 7 cents per kilowatt hour every single hour, every hour of the day, you pay something like 1.9 cents per kilowatt hour if you're using electricity from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. I don't know what you're doing at 1 a.m., but hey, I'm not going to judge. Sometimes also people run their laundry and things like that overnight, and then they can really save, right? Because if you're on hourly pricing and you're running your laundry at 1 in the morning when the price is really, really low, it's a good idea. That's only if people have automated laundry. I wouldn't say you should get up in the middle of the night just to do your laundry, because that's not really worth that, right? But you can see this was a day, this was May 28th of last year, so it was a while ago. But this is just to give you an idea of how this works in blue. Those are the prices that ComEd thought it was going to be. But as I said, the price changes every minute of the day. And so the real-time rate is in red. So you can see that the real-time rate of what the rate actually was is much less than what they thought it was going to be when it was getting up there. Even when it got the highest it was on May 28th, it was only a little bit above, it was like 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour. Now the rate at the time for ComEd customers was actually 7 point something cents per kilowatt hour. So that's about half of the rate, and that's the highest it got that day. So you can really see the potential for saving on this program. And in fact, people save an average of 15% on the supply portion of their bills on hourly pricing. A lot of times people do tell me like, I always do my dishes, I run my dishwasher at night, so I can save energy. And I have to always tell them, you're not actually saving, or they say, so I can save money. And I have to tell them, you're not actually saving money unless you're on hourly pricing. That's the only way to actually save by shifting your usage. So it's a great way to help us balance the grid and save as well. Another couple of programs for homeowners who have central air conditioning. I love this program. It's the Central AC Cycling Program. It runs, both of these programs run June to September. These are programs that are trying to get us to use less electricity during the summer. So AC cycling, the way it works is you allow ComEd to come out and install a device on your air conditioning compressor. And it does allow ComEd to remotely cycle off your compressor during peak times. So that's when everyone has their air conditioning blasting, the hottest day of the year. They can cycle your air conditioning compressor off for 15 minutes at a time. So it's not like they're controlling your air conditioner. They're just turning the compressor off. The fan will continue to blow, it just won't produce cold air. And if you have a well-insulated home, you probably won't feel it at all because your temperature of your house shouldn't change drastically in 15 minutes if you're not losing that treated air. I have talked to tons of people who are on this program. It's a great program because it's automated. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to do anything. It just does it automatically, and you help us balance the grid. You help us, you're helping everyone. And in exchange, you get $10 as a credit on your bill for every month, just for doing nothing. And that doesn't mean that they give you $10 every time they even they even cycle your air conditioner off. They just give you $10 no matter what. And they actually only ever run it usually once per summer. So it's a great deal. You get $40 in credits on your ComEd bill for not doing anything, and no one I've ever talked to has ever felt it. So it's great. Peak time savings is another option for folks who don't have central air conditioning or who rent. It's a program that's all voluntary. It's June through September again. If you sign up, ComEd will let you know morning of that there's going to be a peak time event that day. This usually only happens 3 to 5 times per summer. And during those peak time event hours, it might be 3 to 5 p.m. and they'll say it's a peak time event, and they'll notify you by automated email or phone call, depending on your preference. And when that time comes, you voluntarily decide to shift your energy usage. You can unplug all your devices. You can go for a walk, go to the movies, and then you can get credits on your bill in exchange for what you saved. So this is another great program. It's not as generous of credits. Typically people save somewhere between $10 to $20 per year. So it's not quite as much as $40 for central air cycling where you don't have to do anything. But they're both great programs to help us try to get more on track with lowering costs for everyone and using energy more strategically during the summer. Another question I get a lot of questions about actually is going solar. There's a number of solar programs in Illinois now, especially community solar, where you can subscribe to a section of panels on a larger community solar array somewhere in the state. It's a big solar project. And in exchange, you get credits on your bill. This is different than what we were talking about before with suppliers. Again, you're staying with ComEd. You're not even changing your supply rate. You're just getting credits on your bill for paying a community solar subscription. So you have built-in savings. There are a number of offers for this program that exist now, and And we have a website actually called solarinthecommunity.com. I didn't write this down on the slides, but I can send that out, where we list out a lot of the different offers that are out there right now and help people make decisions about if they want to sign up for a subscription. It's a great way to support renewable energy and save on your bill. Usually people save 10 to 20% on the supply portion of their bill. I would say I would not sign up for both community solar and hourly pricing because it doesn't really work out in terms of your savings. So either or is a really good idea to try to save on your bill. And for people who are interested in getting rooftop solar, the program for rooftop solar is running out, but there has been a very generous state program that helps people pay for 30 to 40% of the cost of solar panels, in addition to federal tax investment credit program that is also ending next year. So now is really the time to get solar panels to realize the benefits, because these programs are coming to a close and it's not going to be as cheap to get solar panels after next year. And for the state program, we're expecting it to only have a couple more months of funding. So it's a good idea to take advantage of that while you can. And I did not talk about Telecom tonight, but we do have a lot of resources on ways to save on your cable and phone bills. And I would be willing to look those over if you're interested. Again, my email is cyork@citizensutilityboard.org. So happy to answer individual questions. And that's all I have for tonight. I was talking a little fast, so I hope it wasn't too fast. So I don't know, Jean, if you had any questions or otherwise, I guess we can wrap up.
All right, thank you so much, Kate. Did you have any questions, Jean? I didn't see anything in the chat.
Sorry, I thought I was off. I thought I turned off the mute. I wanted to thank the library and I wanted to thank Kate for this information. It was absolutely wonderful and just valuable. Kate, should I email you for the publications that you went over at the beginning?
Yeah, so I can very easily email you those links directly. If there's a specific publication you're interested in, we also have them on our website. You just have to kind of click through, and we have like a lot. So if you know like a specific one, you're like, I want this one, I can definitely send it to you, but it's all available publicly on our website.
Okay.
And we also mail them to people too. Sorry.
Okay, I can just grab them off the website then. The only other thing I wanted to ask about was the supplier of the gas and electric. So it'll mention on the gas or electric bill who the supplier is.
Yes, and it's kind of tricky. It's not super difficult once you know where to look, but if you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to take a look at your bills too, or we also have fact sheets on our website that kind of walk through where to look. But yeah, it says it on your bill. It's, I can pull it up again. Let's see here. Oh, of course.
So it's typically you want to have the supplier that is the default and not.
So for ComEd, it's going to look like this. If you're on the ComEd supply, it's going to say customer charge, standard meter, electricity supply charge, transmission services charge, purchase electricity adjustment. That's what it's going to look like. There's no other company listed there.
Okay.
And so if you have an alternative supplier, it's going to say a different company here. And
gotcha.
actually, it's going to say the company next to here, supply. It's going to say supply, MC squared, or supply, Constellation, or something like that. And that's going to be, you're going to have an alternative supplier in that case. You know, sometimes people do save on electric plants. I've never seen someone saving on gas. It's really, it frustrates me a lot because people lose quite a bit to gas. But electric, sometimes communities enter into what's called municipal aggregation, where the municipality actually negotiated a supply rate on behalf of the whole community. And sometimes those are saving plans, sometimes not though. because the ComEd supply rate will change, you know, in the middle of a contract, and then it'll go down, and then people aren't saving again. So it gets very complicated and confusing, unnecessarily so. The NICOR is hard. Gas bills are really hard to read, but the way you know is it'll say natural gas cost, and it'll have the rate, the current rate, which, as I said, is 29 cents per kilowatt hour for December. For last month, I can't remember what it was, but I'm happy to look over gas bills because it gets a little bit more confusing as to what's going on. Most people aren't on alternative suppliers for gas anymore, which is really good. I see it more in electric for sure. The other thing I didn't talk about is NICOR Home Solutions, and that's a whole other story.
Ooh.
Well, NICOR Home Solutions, that's a company that's actually not even owned by NICOR. It's owned by American Water Works, which is the company that owns Illinois American, and it's an home insurance company. It's basically just a scam. It's a way for you to overpay on your bills every month, and saying like, we'll come out and do like an inspection if if your lines have problems, but it's better often just to pay out of pocket for that. You're really not getting a lot of bang for your buck on those plans, especially because they don't even guarantee complimentary visits. I went through a whole thing last year and checked all the different components of what they're offering, and it really doesn't pencil out. So that's the only other thing about NICOR bills that usually comes up.
Can I ask you one more question and then I'll stop?
No, we're all yours.
Okay, that's great. So with ComEd, the hourly pricing, is that more economical than the real rate, the real-time rate, or is it vice versa?
Yeah, so the flat rate, the one that doesn't change that I was talking about, the ComEd supply rate, versus the hourly pricing rate is the real-time rate. If you have the flexibility to change your electricity usage to try to avoid using electricity in the afternoons, I would really recommend considering hourly pricing. And the program actually, there's a couple of things that I didn't mention, which is very silly of me. You can call the program and they'll actually look up your account number to see what your usage looks like and whether you'd be a good candidate for saving on the program. Most people save on the program. I mean, like something like 80% of people who sign up save. So even without changing their behavior, a lot of people don't even check prices I know that because they people fill out surveys and stuff and they publish that in a report every year. And so most people don't even check prices and they still save. The other great thing about the program is they'll send you monthly emails with whether or not you saved. And if you want to go off the program, there's no penalty. It's not like you have to pay an exit fee because you're not changing your supply or anything. It's just a ComEd program. The only condition is if you cancel the program, you can't go back on again for 12 months because they don't want people, obviously the prices are going to be higher in the summer. So you're going to save a lot during the rest of the year. And then in the summer, it might not pencil out. So I really recommend that people, if they're not saving in the summer, it's not that much that they're not saving. I would stay on the program. If it's like, $5 that you overpaid, you're probably going to make that back in the winter when prices get really low. And I can even show you, let me see here. Website
is that done through ComEd?
It
just
is.
Call ComEd. Okay.
Yeah, so it's actually managed by a nonprofit on behalf of ComEd. ComEd pays a nonprofit to manage this program called Elevate Energy, and they're awesome. They're really helpful. And the way that it works, this is the website. You can actually even see live prices. So I can see what the prices were today. So, okay, this is a really weird, sometimes this does happen on this program. The price shot up to 8.5 cents per kilowatt hour from 6 to 7 today, which is bizarre. So if you were using a lot of electricity, that wouldn't have been good, but the rate went down quite significantly. And this is normal for winter. We usually see rates like, this is about a third of the ComEd flat rate, or, a supplier rate that you would likely pay. It just shot up for that 1 hour. So it really wouldn't have made much of a difference for most folks. but you can see, and it happened again yesterday. I don't know what's going on. Usually it's because of like electricity markets are weird. It's probably because one supplier had market power or something. It was like being really weird. Happened again the day before. I honestly, I hadn't even seen that. I hadn't even looked at this. This is very strange. I'm going to ask my boss what's going on because that's really peculiar. But you know, you can see it's always just 1 hour. And even when this one shot up, 3.6 is still like half of the comment rate. So so yeah, the rest of the day it was like very, very, very cheap. So that's just, you know, to get a sense of kind of what prices generally look like. You can see it's in the winter is generally when we see high prices in the mornings, but in the summer it tends to be afternoons. Although this one's weird too. There's some weird prices going on this week. I don't know what's going on. I'm just having fun now. But yeah, so if you're interested in checking that out, I would just give them a call. The phone number is here if you want to write it down, but I can also send it to you.
I got 202. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a quick question about the solar that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I saw that the community solar was, you know, you kind of work as a group. What if all these people that put the solar panels on top of their houses, is that really a savings at all?
Yeah, so there's two different things. So rooftop solar, when you own your home and you put solar panels on top of your home, that's if you have the financial resources to front it, that's the problem is a lot of people don't have the resources to, you know, get loans in order to get the solar panels on their home. But then, as I said, there are incentives right now. You get 30, well, actually, no, it's 22% now from the federal investment tax credit. So 22% of the cost of your panels can be written off in your federal taxes. And that rolls over if you don't have a large tax amount. 30 to 40% while funds last through the state program will be covered. And then it pays for itself because of what's called net metering. And that means that you get credits on your ComEd bill for all the energy that your panels send to the grid. So most people who get solar panels don't actually buy battery storage because that's very expensive. Most people don't actually go off grid. You just stay connected as a ComEd customer, but you have to get credited by state law for all the value of the energy you're sending to the grid. So it's a great, they pay for themselves within a lot of people, most people it's less than 5 years because of all the incentives. And then panels generally are warranted depending on the manufacturer to last like 25 years. And they even keep producing past then. They become less efficient over time. So it's a great investment because you'll continue to get credits way on past when they pay for themselves and save quite substantially on your bills. It's just a matter of having the upfront money at the beginning. That's a big barrier for people. And that's why community solar is great. So community solar is a company that just builds this giant solar project, usually in a rural area. And then as long as it's in your utility territory, you get credited. So we have, I think, 78 projects in ComEd territory that have been approved for the state program. And so they're all going out trying to find customers right now. And so there's still quite a lot of offers available for people to subscribe to. And then you get credits on your bill. You just don't get as much credits for the community solar because you're only getting credits on the supply portion of your bill. If you have rooftop solar, you get credits on your whole bill. You have to pay a little bit on your ComEd bill, but it goes down quite significantly with rooftop solar.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a lot of more information too on our website. If you ever run into folks who are interested in solar, there's a lot of fact sheets and stuff that we have available. And the website that I mentioned that we actually set up has been really helpful, especially now that people have questions about community solar. It's loaded real quick, but we set this website up and we have like, what is it? And how do I know what a good deal is? And then we have this comparison chart of the different offers we've seen and like kind of what they're offering. You know, this one's 10% savings, this one's 20% savings, and you know, what are all the terms? And so that's another option. But as I said, it's a good idea to either sign up for hourly pricing or community solar, one or the other. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, if that's all we have tonight, it's been a pleasure talking to you both. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was very informative.
Great. Thanks,
Yes.
Paulette. Thanks, Jean.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a good night. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.